For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On the morning of December 12, 2015, 33-year-old Dr. Layla Haddad was expected home after a late cryogenics shift at the world-renowned CERN facility in Geneva, Switzerland. She never arrived. Colleagues grew concerned when her usual tram seat was empty, and all attempts to contact her went unanswered. Despite an extensive investigation, spearheaded by Inspector Marc Duval and spanning across cantons and international borders, Dr. Haddad vanished without a trace from the highly secure research campus. For 10 agonizing years, her family and the global scientific community lived with gnawing uncertainty, grappling with an inexplicable void. Then, in late 2025, an astonishing discovery was finally made. A deeply hidden PGP-locked text block from her lab's calibration logs, at long last deciphered. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Dr. Layla Haddad. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. CERN, nestled on the Franco-Swiss border near Geneva, stands as a beacon of human ingenuity, a colossal engine of discovery where the universe's most fundamental questions are pursued. Within its vast network of laboratories and accelerators, precision is paramount, and secrets, both scientific and institutional, are meticulously guarded. It was in this environment, in the year 2015, that Dr. Layla Haddad, a brilliant and dedicated accelerator physicist, made her mark. At 33, her expertise in cryogenics was vital to the operation of some of the world's most advanced experimental apparatus, placing her at the very heart of cutting-edge research. The night of November 17, 2015, began as many others for Dr. Haddad. Her shift involved overseeing the delicate cryogenic systems, a critical task that often extended late into the evening. It was a routine, albeit demanding, part of her contribution to the global scientific endeavor. Colleagues observed her focused work, a familiar sight in the quiet hum of the control rooms. As the hours passed, the expectation was that Dr. Haddad would complete her tasks, secure her station and depart, just as she always did. However, that night the routine diverged. Dr. Haddad, having finished her shift, missed the last tram that would have taken her from the CERN campus back to her apartment in a nearby commune. This small deviation, initially perceived as a minor inconvenience, quickly escalated into something far more concerning. Messages from concerned colleagues, then friends and family, began to accumulate on her phone. Each one left unread, each call unanswered. The silence was unusual, jarring. By dawn, the initial flicker of concern had ignited into full-blown alarm. Dr. Layla Haddad was not simply late, she had vanished. The abruptness of her disappearance from a heavily monitored high-security facility, a place where every entry and exit was logged, every corridor under surveillance, was inexplicable. There were no immediate signs of forced entry, no struggle, no indication of a planned departure. A top scientist, a vital mind, had simply ceased to be present, leaving behind only the ghost of her last known movements within the hallowed grounds of CERN. Her absence cast a long, chilling shadow over the very institution dedicated to shedding light on the unknown. The alarm that sounded at CERN resonated far beyond its perimeter, reaching the offices of the Geneva Cantonal Police. Inspector Marc Duval, a seasoned investigator known for his meticulous approach and unwavering persistence, was assigned as the lead. His initial assessment of Dr. Layla Haddad's disappearance immediately highlighted its unusual nature. A missing person within one of the world's most secure and technologically advanced institutions, surrounded by the quiet communes of Switzerland. This was not a typical missing person case. It was a vanishing act from a fortress of science. Duval's team initiated immediate and exhaustive search protocols. Every corner of Dr. Haddad's professional life was scrutinized. Her laboratory, a realm of intricate machinery and sensitive experiments, was meticulously searched for any anomaly. Her office space, her locker, and all common areas she might have frequented were combed over, yielding no physical evidence of struggle or a forced departure. Colleagues, from fellow physicists to support staff, were interviewed repeatedly, their accounts cross-referenced for any subtle discrepancies or overlooked details. Her digital footprint was equally explored, phone records, email logs, and access card data were all reviewed, tracing her last known movements within the CERN campus and attempting to map her communications leading up to the fateful night. The early efforts, however, yielded a baffling void. There were no signs of a struggle, no discarded personal effects, no note, and critically, no obvious motive for her disappearance. The absence of immediate leads was compounded by the paradox of her vanishing from a heavily surveilled environment. How could a brilliant physicist simply dematerialize from a place designed for observation and control? The question hung heavy in the air, frustrating investigators and deepening the mystery. The institutional pressure on CERN was immense. The disappearance of a top scientist threatened not only the individual, but also the reputation of a global scientific endeavor. The investigation presented a delicate balance for Inspector Duval, the need for thoroughness against the backdrop of CERN's sensitive operations and international stature. Every step was cautious. Every inquiry met with a blend of cooperation and a palpable institutional unease. Yet, despite the resources poured into the initial days and weeks, Dr. Haddad remained unfound, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a growing sense of dread. The initial urgency that galvanized the investigation into Dr. Layla Haddad's disappearance slowly yielded to a grinding, agonizing passage of time. Weeks bled into months and months into years as the calendar pages turned inexorably from 2015 into 2016, then 2017, and on through the decade. Every lead, no matter how tenuous, had been pursued to its logical conclusion, only to dissipate into nothingness. The once active police file grew thicker with reports of dead ends and unconfirmed sightings, but thinner on actionable intelligence. Inspector Mark Duval's inquiries, once frequent and hopeful, became sporadic, then ceased altogether as the case was officially designated cold. The official resources dwindled, and the intense focus of the early days receded into the background of ongoing police work. For those who knew Dr. Layla Haddad, particularly her closest colleagues like postdoc Anton Weiss and sysadmin Soraya Ben-Younes, her absence remained a gaping wound. The vibrant energy she brought to the cryogenics lab, her sharp intellect and quick wit, were replaced by a hollow echo. Anton Weiss, who had often collaborated with Layla on complex detector runs, found his focus fractured, haunted by the sudden void she left behind. Soraya Ben-Younes, responsible for the digital backbone of their section, often found herself re-examining old server logs in her downtime, searching for a ghost in the machine that might reveal a forgotten clue. The daily routine at CERN continued its relentless pace, but for them, a profound shadow persisted. Whispers circulated through the campus corridors, filling the vacuum left by the official silence. Theories ranged from a sudden, unexplained defection to a secret project gone awry, or even a personal tragedy veiled by scientific jargon. None of these speculations held any tangible evidence, yet they underscored the profound bafflement surrounding her vanishing. As the years stretched into a full decade, the initial shock gave way to a quiet despair. The posters bearing Layla's image, once ubiquitous, faded and were eventually removed. The hope of her return, once a fervent prayer, transformed into a faint, almost unbearable ache. Dr. Layla Haddad had become a spectral presence, a name spoken in hushed tones, a mystery that seemed destined to remain unsolved, slowly consumed by the relentless march of time. 10 years had passed since Dr. Layla Haddad vanished from CERN, a decade marked by absence and unanswered questions. The year 2025 arrived, and with it a scientific community still quietly haunted by her disappearance. The case, officially cold, had receded from public consciousness, yet for a few the ghost of Layla Haddad lingered. It was during a routine archival review, a task often relegated to junior staff, involved in legacy system maintenance, that the dormancy of the case was unexpectedly shattered. The location was unassuming. Dr. Haddad's former laboratory, a space long since repurposed but with its digital records meticulously preserved on secure servers. A young technician, tasked with verifying the integrity of historical data, was sifting through ancient calibration logs, tedious, often unremarkable data entries from the cryogenic systems Layla once managed. It was a monotonous process, But as the technician scrolled through a file dated November 16, 2015, the day before Layla's disappearance, an anomaly appeared. Buried deep within a standard log file, amidst rows of temperature readings and pressure fluctuations, was a block of text entirely out of place. It was not calibration data. It was a PGP-locked text block. PGP, or Pretty Good Privacy, was a sophisticated encryption standard designed to secure communications with an almost impenetrable digital lock, ensuring that only the intended recipient with the correct passphrase could access its contents. The discovery was subtle, almost overlooked, yet its implications were immediate and profound. This was not a system error. It was a deliberate act, a hidden message. The text block, carefully embedded within the mundane operational data of Layla's own lab, could only have been placed there by someone with intimate knowledge of her work and the specific system itself. The realization dawned with a chilling certainty. This encrypted data was connected to Layla Haddad and potentially to her disappearance. The faint, almost extinguished ember of hope for answers suddenly flared, igniting a new wave of suspicion and urgency that quickly spread through the quiet corridors of CERN. The encrypted block represented the first tangible lead in a decade, a digital message in a bottle cast adrift in a sea of silence. It was a silent scream from the past, demanding attention, promising revelation. The initial efforts focused on immediately securing the data, preventing any accidental corruption, and preparing it for expert analysis. A new chapter in the investigation had begun, propelled by a cryptic message that had waited 10 long years to be found, a potential key to unlocking the mystery of Dr. Layla Haddad's vanished existence. The discovery of the PGP-locked text block within Dr. Layla Haddad's calibration logs immediately shattered the decade-long dormancy surrounding her disappearance. Inspector Mark Duval, though officially detached from the cold case for years, found himself inextricably linked to its memory. The call came, brief and urgent, reactivating not just the file but the lingering questions that had haunted him. The initial shock and disbelief at finding such a significant clue after so long quickly gave way to a renewed sense of purpose. The investigation, once stalled and directionless, now had a singular, undeniable focus: cracking the encryption. All previous avenues of inquiry, from physical searches to re-interviewing witnesses, now paled in comparison to this new digital frontier. The PGP-locked text block became the absolute primary objective, the potential linchpin upon which the entire mystery hinged. Digital forensics experts and cryptographers from across Switzerland were rapidly assembled, their collective expertise brought to bear on the formidable challenge. PGP encryption was renowned for its robustness, a digital fortress designed to withstand sophisticated attempts at decryption, often requiring a specific passphrase or key known only to the sender and intended recipient. Brute force attacks, while theoretically possible, could take millennia with modern computing power, underscoring the necessity of a more targeted approach. The renewed investigation necessitated an unprecedented level of collaboration with CERN. The institution, initially guarded in the face of police inquiries, now recognized the critical importance of the encrypted message. Key personnel, including postdoc Anton Weiss and sysadmin Soraya Ben Younis, who had worked closely with Layla, were brought back into active consultation. Their intimate knowledge of Layla's work habits, her digital practices, and the specific systems she managed became invaluable. They provided crucial context, helping experts understand the subtle nuances of CERN's network architecture and Layla's personal methodologies. The stakes were immeasurable. This was not merely an academic puzzle or a technical challenge. It represented potentially the only explanation for Layla Haddad's vanishing act. Every analyst understood that within those encrypted characters lay the truth, the reason for a decade of silence, and perhaps the fate of a brilliant physicist. The pressure to decipher the message was palpable, a quiet hum beneath the focused intensity of the renewed search for answers. The formidable digital barrier of PGP encryption, designed to protect secrets with an almost unbreakable code, had for weeks defied the most advanced cryptographic tools and the sharpest minds. Brute force attacks, while exhaustive, were proving futile, and the technical experts were at a standstill. The breakthrough, when it finally arrived, came not from a supercomputer or a complex algorithm, but from a quiet moment of recollection, a flash of human insight born from shared experience. It was a colleague of Dr. Layla Haddad, one who had spent countless hours alongside her in the intense environment of CERN's detector runs, who held the unexpected key. This individual, whose identity remains protected due to the ongoing sensitive nature of the investigation, had been poring over Layla's sparse personal notes and old project logs, searching for any pattern, any obscure reference that might hint at a password. It was a seemingly trivial entry, a half-forgotten inside joke shared during a particularly frustrating series of cryogenic system recalibrations that suddenly illuminated the path. The phrase, a specific, quirky mnemonic they had coined to remember a complex sequence of detector startup parameters, clicked into place. It was a passphrase rooted in their shared professional world, utterly meaningless to an outsider, but instantly recognizable to anyone who had been part of their specific team. With trembling hands, the colleague entered the remembered sequence into the decryption software. The digital lock, which had held its secrets for a decade, yielded instantly. The screen, previously filled with an unreadable block of alphanumeric characters, transformed. Raw data coalesced into plain, comprehensible text, revealing a message from Layla Haddad herself. The tension in the room was palpable as the words appeared, each one a revelation. The first critical piece of information laid bare the true nature of Layla's final days. The note pointed unequivocally to a whistleblowing trail. This was no accident, no random disappearance. Layla Haddad had been actively investigating something, uncovering information she deemed vital, information that she felt compelled to expose. Her vanishing was not a tragic accident, but a deliberate act connected to a larger, more perilous undertaking. The message continued, providing a second, equally crucial detail. It specified a midnight rendezvous outside CCTV. This was the precise time and nature of her last known intention. She had arranged to meet someone, or perhaps a group, in a location specifically chosen to be beyond the reach of CERN's extensive surveillance network. It was a clandestine meeting, a secret exchange, the culmination of her whistleblowing efforts. The note provided not just a reason for her disappearance, but a direction, a chillingly specific starting point for Inspector Duval's reinvigorated investigation into the decade-old mystery. The deciphered message, a digital echo from a decade past, finally delivered the profound answer to the question of why Dr. Layla Haddad vanished. Her disappearance was not a random act of misfortune, nor a personal flight, but a deliberate, calculated move stemming from a deeply held conviction. The note pointed unequivocally to a whistleblowing trail, revealing that Layla Haddad had been actively investigating undisclosed information, data she deemed critical enough to risk everything for. She was not a passive victim of circumstance, but an individual with a mission, driven by a commitment to truth that ultimately led her to a clandestine rendezvous. This revelation painted a new, compelling portrait of Layla Haddad. She was not merely a brilliant physicist, but a woman of unwavering principle, willing to challenge established norms and expose potential impropriety within the very institutions she served. Her choice to meet someone away from the omnipresent gaze of CERN's surveillance cameras at midnight spoke volumes about the gravity of the information she held and the perceived danger associated with its disclosure. It was a testament to her courage, a final, conscious act of defiance in pursuit of a greater truth. For Inspector Mark Duval and his reinvigorated team, the deciphered note, while providing the crucial why, simultaneously opened a complex new chapter in the investigation. The focus shifted dramatically from locating a missing person to understanding the precise nature of the whistleblowing trail and, more urgently, determining what transpired at that midnight rendezvous outside CCTV. The identity of her contact, the specific information she intended to reveal, and the events that unfolded in those unmonitored moments became the paramount objectives. Every detail of the note, every word Layla had carefully encrypted, was now a critical lead to be meticulously pursued. Dr. Layla Haddad's legacy, once shrouded in the enigma of her vanishing, now began to take on a sharper, more resonant form. Her story transcended a mere missing person case, evolving into a narrative of profound ethical implications. It forced a re-examination of the responsibilities inherent in high-stakes scientific research and the potential for truths to be suppressed. While the ultimate fate of Layla Haddad remained tragically uncertain, her final message ensured that her courage and the undisclosed information she sought to bring to light would not be lost to the relentless march of time. The investigation had found its direction, following the path Layla Haddad herself had laid, 10 years in the making.